Welcome to the final episode of E3 Simulator 2014. I'm your host, Andrea Ritsu. Back from previous episodes are Adam Owen,
Hello.
Tommy Hodakowski,
Hi.
Sam Morris,
Hello.
and Carl Zimmerman.
Hello.
Hello. So, we have 1 hour, and we're going to be talking... Oh, and here's Emma, out of nowhere. What timing? Hello. So Emma Carlholm is here as well. The entire podcast is here. How
Awesome.
not? Perfect for the finale. We have 1 hour. We'll be talking about everything about E3 2014, what we liked, what we disliked. Basically, whatever, really. So, has anyone got a topic they want to toss out and start off with?
I guess the big thing I noticed about this E3 is that if I started off with the E3 with Nintendo being a little bit skew-with, as in I wasn't all that sure, they seem to have a very good E3 overall. As in, They eventually endeared themselves to me. Whether it's through Treehouse, through the numerous announcements they made after their conference, and just generally seeing the games that they were presenting in action. For example,
I will agree, especially the Treehouse. When they first started doing the very short conference, the 40-minute conference, and then started live stream, I was not the biggest fan of it, but having followed the Treehouse stream over the last few days, I've been very impressed with the amount of gameplay and details they've been getting out there, more so than any other company has been doing with the games, and it's working.
Well, I'd say the big turning point for me, as far as my perception of how Nintendo supposedly did this E3, was the Super Smash Bros. Invitational.
Yeah.
I think that was the first time I properly saw Smash Bros. In action, and I could see how that was going to be an important game this holiday season.
It was a good thing overall that they did that Invitational, and I think it really helped to secure Nintendo's position in a lot of ways, because that was big. Everyone was watching it. Basically, I have not seen so many people talk about Smash Brothers since it was on the GameCube. Basically, it was really cool. I don't know if who else here watched the tournament.
I did.
Okay, well, what did you think of it?
Well, I thought it was just fantastic. I mean, it was like I was watching Evo or something, but it wasn't hosted by fans. It was hosted by Nintendo. I mean, considering that Nintendo was trying to pull Smash out of the Evo lineup just last year, was it? This is such a turnaround from no, we don't want people to play these games competitively, to, oh hey, we're holding an invitational tournament for you, of course, for PR purposes, for whatever. Here you go. Have a tournament in our game. On us. Have a handshake with Reggie afterwards.
I like to imagine the only reason they did it was so they could have Jeff Keighley on stage at the start saying that this is real life the Wizard. That was the best part. But no, Nintendo did a lot of impressive things. And so overall, I mean, I went into this having no hopes for the Xbox One as something I would like, or the Wii U as something I would like to buy again because I sold mine. And I've come out of E3 being really interested in both, actually, and that's impressive.
Everybody did well, I think, is the takeaway here. Everybody produced. You can say that Sony was not that overwhelmingly exciting. I think is I'm no more excited about Sony products in 2014 and 2015 than I was when I came into this event. But I'm a hell of a lot more excited for the console gaming stuff going on in general. Overall, Microsoft's finally getting stuff that I care about on their console. And Nintendo, while their development pipeline is still slow.
Yeah.
It's always been that way. Our expectation that they should be speeding that up, I think, has always been sort of poorly thought out. The reason Nintendo games are so good is because their pipeline takes so fucking long. And I struggle to find something that, even if it doesn't I struggle to find something that both doesn't appeal to me and isn't well manufactured when they publish something. Like, I might not like it, I might not want to play it, but it's almost always very well refined, thought out, and executed. Indeed, to sacrifice that for getting more Metroid and Zelda out there, I think is just a mistake.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Like the new IPs at this E3, like all the conferences showed off new IPs, and as late as last night, we had the brand new Nintendo IP, codename Steam. This Valkyria Chronicles-esque 3DS game.
Yeah, I mean,
and the first thing people say when they hear new IP is that they're angry that we're not getting a Majora's Mask remake. We have 2 other Zelda games at this E3.
And all we ever seem to hear anymore are complaints that Nintendo just plays it safe and sticks to their IP. So what do you want? I mean, you can't have it both ways.
I think for me, that announcement of codename Steam, which is going to be Intelligent Systems, pretty much. I mean, this is what I sort of thought. This looks like what I wanted the Order 1886 to look like.
Pretty much.
This is. What if they made that game, but made it from me and made it Fire Emblem, and that is the best possible thing. I ended Nintendo's conference not all that hopeful about the 3DS being supported, but as I said before, as Nintendo went on throughout the whole of E3, I was a lot more confident.
That game in particular, for some reason, it made me think of an old PC title, Incubation.
That name rings a bell.
Yeah, that's like a turn-based, kind of like Valkyria Chronicles, but you actually move on a grid, and you have limited move points as well.
Okay.
Well, when you think about it, we did see a lot of Nintendo going outside of their comfort zone. I mean, they are making an arena shooter that seems to be focusing on multiplayer.
Yes, they are. Which anyone who follows me on Twitter would have noticed that it's sort of the thing I cared about the most at E3.
Well, isn't it interesting? It's interesting when they do something that is out of their wheelhouse. It still looks different and fresh and original. I mean, the strategy in Splatoon. It's Splatoon, right?
It's Splatoon.
Splatoon. That. Oh my God, that looks so simple and elegant, but deep and fun.
Yeah, the moment I fell in love with the game specifically was when I saw a player on the live show floor just shoot a little piece of ink on a wall in the enemy base, and just jump into the wall and sit there and stealthily wait for people to spawn. I just realized that that's like the coolest way to do stealth in a game ever. Just hide inside the wall. It just blew me away.
And it's still weird too, because you're Squid. Like, it's still strange. It's still got that little bit of like charming Nintendo quality.
It really does, and it was a breath of fresh air, and at the same time not too far away from it. Yeah, it was what I liked about Nintendo during the GameCube era. Yeah. It was Nintendo being able to like just toss around fun and silly ideas and not be. And basically just do whatever they felt like, which unfortunately didn't work out too well for the GameCube era, but I liked the GameCube era a lot. That was my favorite Nintendo era.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, one of my favorite consoles of all time is the GameCube because of just how experimental Nintendo got at times. And, I mean, I've always appreciated something like Super Mario. They released a horror
shooter on the GameCube.
I kind of see Splatoon as what would happen if in Team Fortress 2 or Quake 3 Arena, one of the weapons happened to be Mario's water gun thing, basically.
Yeah.
As in, that's a game that I might consider. I think, as I said, I'll probably wait for the next Zelda game, which also looks pretty good, to come out first. But yeah,
to add to Nintendo in general, I like the entire concept and execution of the treehouse thing.
Yeah,
it's nothing like revolutionary. It's just a bunch of people playing games, but the fact that they're actually, well, of course they're controlled demos, but I think they're doing the right thing with this.
No, they actually bring out some internal personality. It's like the people hosting are people who are like translators and stuff, working on the localization of games. Like, you see the people playing Splatoon on the show floor against other players, and they talk about like, when we translated this, I was the person who decided on this thing, and like. Just little small deeds like that, it just makes it feel more. It makes it feel more open, even though it's clearly just marketing speech in a lot of ways. Well, it just works.
Few companies are as well positioned to sort of exploit their company culture in that way, because the treehouse at Nintendo, it's almost like this mystical idea for people who are outside viewing it. I mean, it's an internal first-party studio. But they don't communicate with anyone outside of it. And it's this sort of walled garden, and there's something really enticing about being invited into that idea. that resonates really well from a marketing standpoint. So it was a really great approach to doing the show, and I bet they saved a shit ton of money on it.
Absolutely, not having to rent the Nokia theater again and all that stuff.
They did rent the Nokia theater again. They just hosted a fighting tournament there.
Oh yeah, true. The Smash Bros. Tournament. But the way it does it, basically they've taken what game shows used to do, and they aren't doing this year. Like game shows would have like 9 hours every E3 day, where they would bring on developers for like 10 minutes, and they would show gameplay demos, and Jeff Keighley would be there, and the other people from game shows would be there, and they would talk with people. They're doing that, but they're extending, so every game has like 20, sometimes 30 minutes, and sometimes get multiple times being there. Like I think Reggie has been up there talking to them like 3 or 4 times, and not even saying anything special, just being there, basically just talking in general. It's just it's a really nice feeling. Like I'm having it on muted right now on my second monitor, and they're playing Xenoblade Chronicles X, which looks really interesting, by the way. And they're showing so much of the game. Like they're showing more gameplay from this one game at this one demonstration than a lot of other companies shown at their entire library of games at E3. That's also something impressive.
I really wish I'd tuned into more of it, because the only bit I saw was right after the digital event, when they had those 2 people who looked like they'd just been picked off the street outside of E3. They were just staring into a camera, not talking for 30 seconds.
Oh yeah, that bit was awkward.
I tuned out.
I tuned out as well.
I really wish I'd gone back. I know it's still on now, but obviously, yeah.
I think the only bit I really paid attention to was the Yoshi's Woolly World thing, and that's all I needed.
That game is so cute.
It's the most adorable thing ever. But that goes for the Treehouse in general, I think. I mean, it's kind of revolutionary, and it's weird that it is revolutionary to just hand people a controller and go, "Hey, we're live streaming this." Just play. Say what you want. Like, okay, we know that this person is probably paid not to say bad things. Like, hey, I think this game sucks. No, you're not allowed to say that when you're invited, I'm pretty sure. But even still, it feels genuine. They're just talking, they're playing, and they get tips from the person who's made the game, who's sitting right next to them. Sometimes.
What I do wonder is, I wonder how well this is going to work out at the end for Nintendo. How much this is going to translate into actual sales for the Wii U. Yeah, like they're doing a great job here, and they have definitely convinced me that there's something I want to pay attention to. But I do wonder if it might still be too late for them to save the Wii U or not.
I think the problem's going to be in convincing the mass market about that, because, I mean, like, people like us, we know the Wii U exists. We know there's stuff coming out for it. You know, this is great because it gets more coverage for that, but their biggest market are people that don't know that it's a new console because they picked a stupid name for it. That's the biggest problem in the UK anyway. You talk to random people, like my stepmom, an advert came on, she went, "Oh, is that a new controller?" No, it's a new console, but nobody knows this because they chose the worst name, and it's got the worst marketing I've ever seen from that company. Which is weird, because Nintendo are normally quite good at that.
They chose the worst name again.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, let's be clear. Yeah, this wasn't the first time they chose the worst name. They saw the worst name, they chose it, and then they thought about it, and on reflection said, "Yeah, let's do that a second time." And yeah, it was a terrible, terrible idea to push it with the same or so similar a name, because the first reaction I had is that people were going to be confused over that, and the second reaction I had was that the second tablet thing wasn't ever going to be accepted in the same way that the Wii Remote was, as, you know, something that the average person picks up and just gets. It's a weird device. But the other thing too that I think we have to keep in mind is the realignment of perceptions about Nintendo. The Wii changed a lot of perception about how successful Nintendo could be again. This is a GameCube. Maybe they'll treat it like the GameCube.
That's the impression I seem to get from a lot of these games that they're announcing, even for the 3DS.
Yeah, I can see that as well. And you bring up 3DS, like Nintendo's also been pushing some localization efforts here at E3. They announced finally Shin Megami Tensei 4 is coming to Europe. About time. Phoenix Wright and Ace Attorney, they're localizing for the US, announced at E3, and worldwide E3 announcement localization of Fantasy Life, the sort of Harvest Moon, except you can be a bunch of jobs, and you can also be a warrior and stuff. Game RPG by Level 5, the makers of Dragon Quest IX and Professor Layton. And I've been waiting for that game for a long time, and seeing them announce that, and even showing it off like in detail at the Treehouse later, it was nice, and I do hope it turns out well for them. Just like I hope now that Microsoft has shown to actually seem to care about wanting to make people buy the Xbox, I hope people will actually buy the Xbox as well.
I think if you want evidence of Level 5, that game, what that's going to be, go play Dark Cloud.
I remember Dark Cloud. I think that was one of the first proper JRPGs where I really got into it.
You want to see if that's the approach they take to it, and they offer just more jobs and variety and things to do, could be unbelievably good.
Yeah, I've heard great things from the Japanese version from people I know in Japan now, and it was basically the localization was basically leaked years ago by Nobuo Uematsu, who made the music. It was like, oh yeah, we are localizing it for Europe and North America, and then no one said anything for 1.5 years.
Awesome.
But still.
I wonder how that happens. I mean, if the localization is done, why isn't it put out there?
Oh, there could be a ton of reasons for that. I mean, they may have come to the conclusion, even after doing the localization, that we're not going to make our money back if we go to print.
Nintendo did that with the first Mother game. That was
Yes,
translated, and then they never released it.
That was enhanced, given a new ending, changed a bunch of gameplay elements, and translated, and then, nah. But yeah, the Game Boy Advance version is the enhanced version, so they finally got to use it in some way, at least.
Mm.
But, that's with Microsoft. I know we spoke about this. We spoke about all three companies during the week, but Microsoft especially, the way that the one thing with the Kinect, especially the one thing they pushed for the Kinect this year was the stuff that we know works with Kinect. It was the Harmonix games, and that's the stuff I like with Kinect. So I was happy to see that.
Has anybody looked at any of the coverage on D4?
I haven't. I saw a trailer for it. I know Swery was at E3, but he wasn't on. I don't know why that wasn't shown at the press conference.
Well, I know it has been shown around to people at the show.
Yeah.
I haven't really gone to look for coverage of it yet because I'm just kind of waiting for the week to end, and then I'll rifle through everything. Yeah. But that's about the only game that I know of that is gonna need Kinect that I give any shit at all about.
Yeah, I was sad that we didn't see it at the press conference, probably because it's a Kinect game.
But Kinect's done. I mean, they by letting that go, by allowing that product to be sold without Kinect, without making it an integral part of the experience, they signed the death warrant.
Yeah.
Nobody.
By
Go ahead.
allowing developers to disable Kinect in the SDK and give them more processing power, so they'll be able to hit the 1080p 60 FPS a bit easier.
Yeah. I mean, there was not a single Kinect game at E3, was there?
It was Dance Central, and is the Fantasia game out there?
They said the word Fantasia at one point, but I don't think they showed it.
Okay.
What? Oh God, how sad that is too. I feel so bad for Harmonix and Disney, because that is a title that absolutely would have killed at Christmas.
It would have. I was very sad to see. I mean, it was clear the moment they announced the Xbox without Kinect, you could just see Harmonix people on Twitter being very upset about something. It was sad.
And maybe now they, like 6 months after release, they put out a bundle that packs in the Kinect camera and Fantasia, or something like that, and they can work out some. But when you look at how much in terms of resources has been, was risked by 2 third-party companies to make this product for a device that's just clearly never going to get the support it was purported to be receiving.
Yeah.
And it just heartbreaking.
Imagine how the developers would feel as well. I mean, considering
That's what I'm saying.
like
That's what
Andrea
I'm talking
said,
about.
Like Andrea was saying on Twitter when we saw the new Xbox without any Kinect, and everyone from Harmonix was going crazy. I mean, that they said that at that timing kind of makes it seem like they didn't know.
Oh, I'm sure they didn't know. I'm sure it was not discussed with them at all.
So they got to know it when we got to know it. Like, they're
That
just
is,
going to
yeah,
work
it's
one day.
heartbreaking.
And, okay, so now people ain't going to buy the
How much game
console.
was profitable?
Yeah, like, we can only sell to the people who picked up the console up to this point. Everyone else...
Well, I mean,
was
there will still be a version of the Xbox that has Kinect available in the box. No one's going to buy it. But that's available. It's an option. You can have that. I think the smarter move to... Well, no, there's no good move for Kinect. The whole thing's bungled.
they're
I'm
releasing
trying to
the
find a
Windows
silver
version.
lining.
Well, every console is going to have an audience that wants Just Dance.
Well, yeah.
Well,
I'll let the
they
silence
could-
speak
they
for
could-
itself.
Yeah, it's like... people
Wow,
want
the
to dance.
silence that followed that statement says so much more than anything anyone could have said.
I think that's it for Kinect. Yeah.
People want
Yeah.
Just Dance.
Well, but at
Uh,
least they are still releasing the Windows version. You can actually pre-order it, and it's going to be available.
That can be interesting, actually, to see
Yeah,
what
because
comes
like
out of that.
with the previous Kinect, the most interesting stuff came from like homebrew.
Yeah, I'm still glad Kinect existed because of the secondary, non-professed benefits that are coming out of it. And seeing its use in other fields and in science and like the medical imaging stuff. The potential for the fruits of their efforts to improve things in lots of aspects of life are there. And that's
It's such
great.
a shame we didn't get the original Kinect as well, like the one that they were developing with the extra processor and stuff.
Yep.
My lecturer used to work for Rare at the time, and he said they were doing all sorts of amazing stuff with it. And then they took the processor out, and you could no longer do any of that amazing stuff. And so it was just used as an iToy, which is kind of naff, to be honest.
Can I lift the spirits of everyone here and talk about how brilliant indie games were as a whole this E3? Because
Yes, please.
that was that was the big thing that I think made me the happiest person ever. I think nearly every company, like Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, all saw a chance to promote indie games in one form
We
or
had a
another.
Sony conference where Fork Parker's name was dropped.
Yeah, at Microsoft they showed. I mean, this was one of the things that everyone said Microsoft were failing at, and they pretty much gave us an entire chunk of time where they showed every indie game that was going to be on Xbox.
Well, the only press conference type event that didn't really have a dedicated section to indie stuff or indie type stuff was Nintendo. Now, their presentation was so tightly composed and good that I actually didn't notice that until after the fact.
Yeah, wasn't Nintendo's conference entirely first party, actually?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
That's
and how
really
fucking
cool.
amazing! Yeah, exactly. So that was I was okay with that, and I don't know if they talked about any of that stuff afterwards, but I don't know that console is really the digital distribution store on that. Still makes me reticent. I think
Yeah,
to
I think
look to that as a
it's-
place for indie games.
I think it's a good for certain types of games. I mean, I think before their conference, I saw a trailer for Gunman Clive 2 on the 3DS, and I thought, yeah, that's a good fit. And I think there were several other trailers on Nintendo's channel where
Yeah, they did a Treehouse presentation of Shovel Knight on the 3DS, and that would look really cool. It had some exclusive modes and stuff.
I think the idea of, Nintendo to third-party relationships are always kind of weird, and it's one thing when you're a third party with lots of resources, and it's another thing when you're a third party with almost no resources. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would. The big guys don't want to work with them for a reason a lot of the time. And
there's a reason Ubisoft showed no Wii U games this year.
yeah, there is, I think. I think it's a pretty good reason. I think it's that they don't expect they're going to sell, and they're probably not wrong.
Speaking of Ubisoft had a lot of flack their way this E3.
Yeah.
For very good
Well,
reasons.
there's always one company every year that has a big controversy. As in,
Yeah, but
whether
it was kind of interesting how a pretty good conference was followed by just a bunch of controversy.
Well, they're getting flack for sort of faking things, and now they've done a conference which looks almost entirely fake. I mean, it's in-game engine, but it doesn't look gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, I love Rainbow Six. As soon as the trailer for Siege was over, or the gameplay demonstration for Siege was over, I installed Rainbow Six Vegas 2 again, and I am loving it. So I could watch the demonstration and notice that, yeah, these things are possible and could be real, but this is way too perfect and scripted for it to actually being played like this right now. And that makes me worried, because that's what we saw with Watch Dogs, what we saw with probably Assassin's Creed Unity, that's what we saw with the first version of Zombie U they showed. Hell, the first version of Red Steel they showed. That looked really cool.
Oh yeah, don't get me started.
So I am a bit worried, and for good reason, because Ubisoft has shown that they're very much probably the biggest publisher when it comes to just all of a sudden deciding to fake their gameplay by making it look real. But of course, the big flag later came from the comments regarding Assassin's Creed Unity, and the lack of female players in the 4 players setup for the co-op, because it would double the workload, apparently.
Because you have to redesign the city when you put girls in it. That's how it works. Come on,
Yeah.
guys.
I kind of see it as a more of a foot-in-mouth moment, similar to the guy who was talking about Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Oh,
As
yeah.
in, it's very similar to that big controversy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think this is. I mean,
Yeah.
from what, and I'm trying not to follow this too closely. Like, I'm really trying not to, because to me it sounds like they just put the wrong guy in front of a press guy. You
It's
know,
very much possible.
and it's not. I never get the sense ever that there is a implicit laziness to fix gender diversity in the games industry. Like, I think everyone's aware of it and everyone wants to do the right thing.
Yeah, I very rarely will call laziness on a game developer, because anyone who's ever even tried to develop a game knows how much work it is.
Right, but I just mean in terms of stepping up their efforts to present a more diversified industry.
Absolutely.
Because it does seem like progress isn't happening fast enough for that. And I get being frustrated at that. And I think underrepresentation of women as a gender in games, yes, is a problem. We can talk about this, and we can, try and raise awareness, and we can do it without shouting each other down, and we can do it with some consideration that it's difficult for everybody. This isn't like, yes, I understand it sucks being marginalized. It also really sucks to not want to marginalize people, but not sure how to go about changing that in a way that still ensures that you continue to meet your responsibilities to things like shareholders and so forth. They are not in a good position either.
Absolutely. Though at the same time,
That said, don't
hard.
put that guy in front of the microphone.
Yeah,
You know?
especially at an E3, which has had a surprisingly amount of female characters being playable. Actually,
Yeah.
like we have Hyrule Warriors, which currently has 5 characters shown off, 4 of which are women. We have
I think that's
Every public relations person should be well aware of how peaked this issue is right now.
yeah.
And the second that question, like the technical director shouldn't have had that should not have had the appropriate answer. There's no expectation for that person to have the appropriate answer to that question.
Yeah.
That was, I don't want to say the guy was baited, because that's not fair either. It's not fair to the person who got the quote. They were asking a genuine question. They asked someone who, really, he's the technical director. That's a narrative question. That's a design question. It's not a technical question. And that PR person who was, there had to have been, if there wasn't someone standing next to that guy when this conversation was happening, they screwed up already. But that person should have, that's the person, the PR person standing next to them, who already has the answer to that question.
Yeah, I think was it you, Adam, who brought up the comparison to the Tomb Raider thing from last year or 2 years ago?
Yeah.
But yeah, with we have the infamous. We want to make it so the player want to protect Lara like it's their girlfriend quote, which caused a lot of issues. And that's another example of, like, that should not have been said, because especially when you actually play the game, that's obviously not the feeling they're going for in the game either.
Yeah. Or who knows, perhaps they remade the entire game after the controversy.
To be fair, characters were... We know from the final hours of Tomb Raider that characters were cut in, like, the last two months, so maybe. But still, it's unfortunate when PR fuck-ups like this happen. But at the same time... this is something about we wanted to put them in, but it would double the workload. There's something about that answer. I feel even as a, like, panic response, we need to say something. I still feel that was a bit. He shouldn't have been in front of the microphone.
Well, no.
Yeah,
I mean, it's an interesting response, like, in just the way that's expressed, because that almost seems too stupid to be serious, right?
Yeah, it actually does.
It's like when the Call of Duty devs said, "Oh, we can't put females in because there's not enough RAM."
And now, I mean, I know that I have, from time to time, said things totally deadpan, intended as a joke. That's my type of humor. And so there's a probably equally stupid part of me that wants to think that he thought it was funny.
You know what? That would be the best defense Ubisoft could come up with, actually.
You know, you might
You're
be
just joking.
You might actually be the first person who ever thought about it from this angle.
Yeah, he was totally just joking, guys. Please don't pay him any mind. You know, it was just a total joke. But, you know, I feel so bad for some Ubisoft devs who went to Twitter and tweeted about it, and they were like, "Yeah, we were really fighting for that feature, but, you know, we can't win every battle internally." And I'm like, oh, and now you guys are getting so much shit for it.
Well, those guys also should not have opened their fucking mouths.
Yeah, they really should. Don't do your own PR.
Yeah, that's the lesson for every company.
Don't help your PR department. Do not do it. You're not. Because you're not. Your PR department, they have it under control. You talking on your own, that is them not having it under control.
Exactly.
But at the same time, they're human beings, right? I mean...
Well, sure, no.
Yes.
And then, well, you know, when something you love is being assaulted.
Yeah, something you worked really hard on. And when you feel, I was fighting... If I got my will... nothing of this would have happened. All this controversy happened because they didn't listen to me. And now you guys are attacking Ubisoft. And attacking Ubisoft means you're attacking me. So of course you get defensive and you need to explain yourself. I completely understand that reaction. And all this frustration they must be feeling right now. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's it was definitely an interesting last few days after that bit. Let's see, I mean... going away from the bigger companies, though, and there was a bunch of smaller announcements as well. Some that were just minor teasers, but still, like you had The Devil's Third being a Wii U exclusive. The new game by, very odd. Is his name Itagaki? Is that the name?
Yep, that is his name.
Yeah, which I honestly thought that game was dead. So good on them. I guess it's not.
Is that the sunglasses guy?
Yes, that's the sunglasses
Okay.
guy.
I assume this
I
is
call him Mr. Sunglasses.
Yeah,
I assume this is a
Yes,
similar
remember that.
deal to Bayonetta 2.
Very possible.
Could
Although I'm
very-
not sure how many more Wii U's this will sell in comparison to Bayonetta 2. But yeah. But that was interesting, and of course the teaser for Doom. That will be fully revealed at QuakeCon.
Can we
I
talk
very
about
much
it for
like
a
that.
second?
We can talk about
Oh
Doom
my
for a
god,
second.
Doom!
Oh my god, Doom! Yes, I have analyzed that trailer far too much, but I will continue doing it. There's so many small details you can pick up from that trailer that probably is just me picking up details that won't matter at all in the end.
Please go into depth about
I
this.
will.
Well,
Like
if
you
there's
have
one person I can trust with picking up on details, that would be you.
So the in the trailer we see the Cyber Demon, the boss of the second episode of Doom 1 and the final boss in Doom 3, being reassembled, being given cybernetic implants, a new gun, and stuff like that, like he has. And what's interesting about this is that we see the Cyber Demon being assembled and being pieced together by UAC technology. He's being rebuilt by the UAC. He isn't formed like this by Hell itself, which would suggest that once again UAC is working with the demons like they did in Doom 3. But that actually is interesting because they have done this before. In the sub-series of Doom games, I guess I'm getting into sub-series now, the Doom RPG series, you fought the Cyber Demon without the cybernetic implants, and you cut off a few limbs, and it came back in the future as a Cyber Demon. I wonder if they're going to do that again. Like, you would start off the game, and you would fight the Cyber Demon without the cybernetic implants, and then fight later on in the game. That could be really, really interesting, because we also see a damaged horn on him. We know it's going to be on Mars again, because they're using the UAC Mars Division logo for the UAC, which is different from the normal logo, and yeah, that doesn't really matter. But so that's interesting, because the cancelled Doom 4 was taking place on Earth, which is very different from Mars, obviously. And you have stuff like the Cyber Demon being more designed like the Doom 64 Cyber Demon, which I never thought they would do, rather than the classic Cyber Demon or the Doom 3 Cyber Demon. And yeah, it's just so many small details. The old Doom door is being perfectly textured and has the old sound effect. I'm excited.
You know, you mentioning that UAC is working with demons brought me an interesting mental image. Like someone from the legal department of UAC just talking to Satan.
The Devil's Advocate.
Yeah, and just
Oh my god, I'm sorry.
there's a meeting, and Satan is wearing a tie. And he's just like, yeah, let me just run it through a legal department.
Cybernetic enhancements? No, but I am so excited for that, especially having played Wolfenstein The New Order and seeing how that is exactly what I wanted out of a new Wolfenstein. And that was a collaboration between Ada Machine Games, and we don't know if the new Doom is going to be only Ada, or if it's going to be Ada Machine Games again. We know it's going to have multiplayer this time. So. I hope it is. It's going to be multiplayer, though. It's going to have multiplayer and single player, which I'm happy with because I like Doom's multiplayer. But I'm guessing we're going to mainly be seeing multiplayer in August at QuakeCon because, it's QuakeCon.
The new Doom needs the lean system from Wolfenstein.
It does. That's the best system of any shooter I've played when it comes to cover. Like, no cover, just manual leaning. It just works so well. So yeah, Doom. I'm excited. Very excited. I'm just thinking about the Doom trailer now.
Yeah.
There was also some other sort of small announcements, but they were big to me, such as Grim Fandango for the first time.
Oh my god,
yes.
Grim Fandango.
Forever.
I don't
Grim
want you
Fandango
asking
one.
me about Grim Fandango.
My wife has no idea what it is.
I
Like,
assume...
we were watching the Sony stream, and she's like, "What? What?"
That's the thing. It's a game that not a lot of people know nowadays, but there are a very small number of people who just hear it and think, "That's wonderful! Finally, I can play it again instead of messing around with a PC version." And it's going to be an introduction for so many people to this wonderful
Oh
game.
yeah, I think it's going to sell very, very well because Tim Schafer has been so successful now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You
yeah,
know, the whole word of mouth thing, like, us stupid nerds, we love this game, we talk about it, we play it, we buy it day one, we probably pre-ordered it as well, and then we talk to our friends, and they talk to their friends, and everyone buys it in the first week. And I think this is going to be one of those selling charts where you see that the first day isn't the day where it sells the most. It's going to be like during the second week or something.
It's going to be
that's where we see the majority of sales.
I reckon it'll be like Rayman Origins, where it's not going to sell all of its copies on the first week, but it'll have a steady. It'll be a steady customer. It'll always have good number of sales, but that will extend through months and months
as long
and months.
as it's marketed right. When I have faith that they will market it right.
The only marketing they'll have to do is to do a fucking Kickstarter backer update to Double Fine Adventure.
True, actually.
That's all the marketing Grim Fandango needs.
That is actually very true, yeah.
Speaking of which, Broken Age out on iOS.
Oh, yeah, that was announced today.
I saw that.
Today. Have you played it yet, Tommy?
You can use Dropbox to get your PC saves.
That's pretty cool. How does it work? Like, does it control well? I mean, I would assume it does, but...
Well, so what they did is when, of course, you tap to move, and you get this, like, visual feedback where whenever you tap, and there's a thing you can use to highlight all the interactive objects on the screen. Because on the PC, you just hover the cursor around, and it highlighted. But in here, you just do a thing, and everything interactive in the room is highlighted for you.
Okay, well, that's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm glad that game is getting on more systems. I want it on the Vita and the PS4, because Broken Age is a beautiful game.
Yeah, and, just for a moment, return to Grim Fandango, just think about this. Grim Fandango on the PlayStation Vita. Like, isn't that just wonderful?
The Vita as a whole, I'm surprised that it didn't really need the big bombastic revelations that all the other consoles had, but it's very confidently just putting out all of the indie games it can.
That's
I
not
cannot
Vita TV. I mean, I want that. I do. I didn't actually want the Vita that I have that much. Yeah, I got one with an OLED screen, and I'm like, that's really cool. I'm glad I bought this. But I'm really secretly thinking, okay, now I'm just going to go buy a PS Vita TV.
I'm thinking that as well, because all of the indie games that I've been loving, I've really loved playing, whether it's Don't Starve or La Mulana, they're all getting portable versions, and that's something that I've kind of been hoping for.
Yeah, it was really nice to see overall, and also like I mentioned earlier, all the developer games, like you have Broforce coming out on the Vita and the PS4 as well.
And hey, maybe now that they have multiple product lines and greater demand, they could lower the fucking price of the memory cards.
Oh god.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Holy
It was
God.
weird to see people say that. I saw a lot of people saying, like, oh, the Vita didn't have a big showing, but they announced, like, 20-something games for the thing.
Yeah, that was my point.
They just
Because
didn't
we
make
don't
it.
see any exclusives.
Well, they didn't make it
yeah.
a huge part of their presentation either, because they were focusing on the PS4, which really is the thing that they need to be building more traction on. It's not to say that the Vita's doing, gangbusters or anything, but if you gotta pick which eggs to put in that basket, yeah.
It's the same thing Nintendo did. Like, the 3DS can still do better, but they needed to push the Wii U, so they pushed the Wii U and let the 3DS, tail afterwards. And I think they did right by doing that.
Plus, I mean, the Vita audience has always been there. I mean, it's not a big audience. I think the Vita will remain a very niche product, but that small niche that Sony have, they're very dedicated.
Well, yeah, someone pointed out that when the first Vita game mentioned at the conference is a Tales game, then yeah, it's a pretty niche console.
Definitely. I was so surprised to even hear that name. I was like, what?
Yeah.
They mentioned Tales of Hearts at E3? I should have put that in my E3 bingo.
You should have. But no, it was very good as well. So I have been very impressed with E3 this year. I have been very down on E3 the last few years. I've still enjoyed watching the streams and seeing the reveals and stuff, but I've more and more felt like this might be becoming something I'm not that into anymore. But this year was the first time since probably like 2006 I was really, really into E3.
Well, I think a big part of that is outside of, I think, PlayStation TV, there wasn't any need to introduce anyone to any consoles.
That is true. That's
And
true. It
everyone-
actually was a focus on just games and IPs, and that was nice. I mean, sure, there was the 15 minutes of that TV series on Sony's conference, but they were also 15 minutes longer than everyone else, so, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if I had to pick a game of E3 as in something that stood out to me as something I really want to play in the future, I'd probably go for it's either Codename Steam or Sunset Overdrive.
Sunset Overdrive, that was actually really cool. We spoke about it a bit on the Microsoft episode. I don't think you were on that, though. What do you like about Sunset Overdrive so much?
Well, it sort of does look like a lot of my favorite games all combined into one. It looks like,
okay, we're having this conversation again. Okay.
Yeah, as in, I don't really feel like I need to go too much into it. I bored everyone to death already. But yeah,
everyone. We brought this up on the previous episode. Everyone who describes Sunset Overdrive just describes it as a bunch of different other games.
I don't get it. I mean, I look at the footage and it looks like it's Ratchet and Clank 3 with zombies and a tall guy. And I like Ratchet and Clank, but I'm not going to buy an Xbox for it. I mean, it looks cool, but it doesn't look like it's going to sell me the system.
well, that's why I put Codename Steam in there, because I actually have the console that I'll get the game for. Anyone else?
Emma, what was your game of show?
Oh, that's difficult. It might be Ori, actually. Because I was so hyped for that.
That did
You know
good.
that... You know that 2D
That was
platform.
the Shadow of Light looking game, right?
The what?
The game that looked like Shadow of Light, where you fly around and in 2D.
Yeah, it was in 2D,
yeah.
yes. Oh yeah, Child of Light. It kind of looks like one of those pretentious 2D platformers, and it might just be. But hey, I thought it was really, really cute, and they had this character that looked like No Face from Spirited Away. And it's kind of implied that this character is going through a very hard time, perhaps even dying, I don't know. But the platforming looks really superb, and just the way everything was presented, just whoa. And it came out of nowhere, and I mean, I hadn't heard a thing of it, and then all of a sudden this is amazingly cute and wonderful and mechanically robust 2D platformer. Oh my god. That's probably my game of the show. I mean, it's not the game I'm most hyped for that has been shown off at E3, but it's probably still the show for me.
Alright, yeah, I would guess the game you most hyped for is Dragon Age Inquisition.
Well, yes. Knowing me.
That's about as given as me being interested in Doom, so yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Sam?
I
Sam?
really don't know.
Okay.
Because part of me wants to say, there's the Ratchet and Clank game, but they didn't actually show it. They just said it was going to be happening, so that doesn't really count. I'm probably going to have to say the Vita ports like Grim Fandango, and I can't say Doom because again, it's not really been revealed yet. That's a QuakeCon, so yeah, it's going to have to be Grim Fandango for the Vita and maybe Broforce, but yeah.
But they did show off Ratchet and Clank. Didn't
No,
you
they
say
showed off the
Sunset
movie.
Yeah, but didn't you say Sunset Overdrive was basically Ratchet and Clank?
Similar, yeah, but I don't have an Xbox and I don't plan on buying one, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have an Xbox, so they didn't show off Ratchet and Clank.
No.
Got you.
Connor,
No,
what game would... Okay, go on.
No, I don't know. I mean, Sunset Overdrive looks okay, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm still skeptical that. I mean, the trailer started out with Insomniac taking the piss out of third-person shooters when their last game was a bad third-person shooter. So I don't really know.
I saw that as an apology.
I saw that
It
as
may
poking
have
the
been.
people that paid for it.
Here, refunds for everyone. You get a refund. You get a refund.
Fuse.
I've seen that for £5 in game, and I'm still not buying it.
Oh yes.
Connor, what game do you find the most interesting at E3?
Well, I mean, it's Bloodborne. I think is probably the most interesting game coming out of that show, just because it sounds like From Software's going to grow the game, and make a more interesting game than Dark Souls 2. I hope they make it more accessible, while still you want to have things to dig up and explore, but I just mean in terms of understanding its systems, a little less cryptic would be good, I think. But who can say that? For me personally, the thing I'm most interested in that was shown at the show is Phantom Dust, which is an old Microsoft Game Studios game, which is being remade for Xbox One, and really fascinating combination of card game elements with a sort of third-person action gameplay system. Really, really fun. So I'll be looking forward to seeing how well that turns out.
Yeah. Tommy?
Oh my god, Grim Fandango.
I figured as much.
Also, well, but I'm more leaning towards, oh my god, No Man's Sky.
Oh, yes.
Like, how does that game even...
How
So
did I
good.
forget about No Man's Sky? How did that? Yeah, I'm embarrassed now. Yeah, that.
No Man's Sky looks really amazing. I am looking forward to seeing just how well it works. If it works the way they intend, even slightly, it's going to take up far too many hours of me because I'll play that game the way I play Morrowind and basically just not do anything but walk around, explore probably. And the fact that you can explore infinite amount of planets is not good or healthy for me. So yeah, I understand the hype for No Man's Sky. As for me, I'm gonna have to go with Splatoon. I know, shocker. It just combines everything I love about competitive shooters and quirky, cute stuff, and I like painting in games as well. Like I loved my favorite part of Portal 2, which I didn't really like, was playing around with the orange and blue liquids so you could bounce and go fast because you could paint stuff with it and you just see what you could figure out with that. And it's just something I've always been fascinated with liquids in game actually like doing things. Same thing with Super Mario Sunshine. I thought it was so cool playing that game for the first time and seeing like you had the paint that Dark Mario or whatever it was called would paint up and you would spray it away, and at the time it felt so real, and this gives me that feeling in terms of visual presentation, and the fact that the gameplay looks so solid as well and so cute at the same time. Yeah, there was no other game that could win me over as badly as Splatoon. I've watched pretty much every part they've shown at the Treehouse, and it's the game they've shown the most at Treehouse because they just keep going back to play more multiplayer in it. And when they play more of that than Smash Brothers in their multiplayer showings, you gotta question just how I mean, it's gotta be fun then.
To give it the whole Sunset Overdrive coverage thing, it sounds when you speak about it as if it's kind of like if you take Super Mario Sunshine and you take Portal 2 and you take an arena shooter, just any one, and Sonic, and you mix it all together.
Oh, no, hold on, Sonic.
Yeah, because you gotta go fast.
Oh, okay. I love that, like what you can do as well in the game is like you can like go into your own ink and you can torpedo up in the sky and go like either back to your base to retreat during combat or to any of your teammates. So if you're like actually playing like strategic, you can actually have like one person in being like stealthing behind the rest of the team on the other side of the map, and then just basically him calling in the rest of the strike team basically, and then you just going right to that person.
That's pretty cool.
It's so cool. And like the trailer shows off more weapons. Like there's a paint airstrike in the trailer. There's a paint sniper rifle, which I'm not sure how useful that's going to be, but I'm sure it's going to be useful in some way.
I love that whole roller.
Yeah, the roller that you just paint the ground with. It's so cool. And you can roll over people, and when the characters die, when they well, I guess they don't die because they probably have some other explanation for it. When the Inklings get defeated, splattered, like their clothes remain on the ground. So like themselves like turn into paint, and the clothes just lay there on the ground afterwards.
Wow, that's so grimdark.
It's awesome. It's such a cool game. So yeah, definitely Splatoon for me. Do we have any last thoughts on E3? Otherwise, I think we can.
It was a good. All I'll say is that it was a good show. Everyone had something brilliant to show off. Even EA, who I didn't think had a very good conference, but they had Dragon Age Inquisition to show off, and that looks very nice.
That actually, you mentioned EA brings me up with one other thing. Just like people complaining about no new IPs and then complaining about new IPs. I found it interesting how people were complaining about EA showing games that were 1 year in development and being conceptual demos, and then being angry that Nintendo didn't show Fire Emblem versus Shin Megami Tensei, which has just been in development for about a year as well.
Yeah, although
Well,
EA's did feel
Consistency
like
is difficult.
early access.
Oh, what you gonna do? Oh.
Speaking of Dragon Age Inquisition, can I just squish for a bit?
Okay, make it quick.
I find
We're running out of time. Make it quick.
Yeah, okay. We were talking about representation and Ubisoft earlier, and this is something I think BioWare is just, oh my god, they're doing this so right. While we're discussing whether a female character makes a game twice as expensive or not, what BioWare's doing is they're showing off a game with 3 female characters in the lead roles, 2 of which are not white, and the white person is not even human. And that's the 3 women we got. We got 2 non-white human females.
People of color, women of color. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
and that's fantastic. And at the very end of the trailer, they show that the person who's narrating this entire freaking trailer is the female main character, and they don't make that much of a deal out of it. It's just, so here's a woman in a full fucking suit, and she's the main character, and that's it. I mean, how do you do representation better than that?
Well, the BioWare thing's a pretty safe bet. Because if you look at it, you're worrying about you don't want to alienate white males. So you provide the white male character for them. But I don't think you have to worry so much about alienating the white females. So you can pack a whole lot more diversity into a single package, character to character, if you just make... See, I'm making a really awful joke here. And it's just going on and on. But no, seriously, they're packing all their diversity. It's like making an affirmative action hire here in the States. That's a little person, female, half African American, half Native American. I mean, that's like the hat trick of affirmative action hires. You're covering so many bases. You could hire 10 more white people and no one will notice.
Speaking of that, actually, speaking of people of color in games, I want to bring up again Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris, which has 4 playable characters, three of which are female, 2 of which are people of color, and one of those being the male character. So there is no white male in that game, and the majority of the characters are women. That is cool. That is really cool.
And if they ever put one in, they just got to be fat. Just make them fucking huge. Because that's the only shame white males are, allowed to exhibit, is that they're fat.
I would like I would like to see that. Like the best part of Uncharted was always Donut Drake.
Yeah.
But okay, I think we're closing out.
I just wanted to add one final remark. Despite my complete lack of interest in E3, because I'm at the point where I'm more interested in Apple's WWDC, because that actually affects what I'm going to be doing at work. But despite my lack of interest, each company managed to get me interested in their offerings. So I guess that's a good sign.
This wasn't an E3 where who won. It's nobody lost this year, which is kind of amazing. Unless you're Ubisoft.
Unless you're Ubisoft.
Well, it's not like the conference was bad. It's just that they got a lot of warranted flack afterwards. But they still, as a conference, as a whole, as a show, I think they really, really pulled it off.
Well, I think some people did have to lose this E3. I mean, not everyone could win first place at the Smash Brothers Invitational.
Oh.
I think at the end of the end of the day, I was in a big Lebowski themed pub, so
you made the right call.
Yep, you sure did. Thank you for listening to the E3 Simulator. It's been fun. I'm really looking forward to next year and doing the annual podcast again. This was the 4th year, and it was by far the most fun year. Adam Owen, you have a Twitter.
I am at Adam Owen FTW.
Emma.
I'm kid_n7. That is kid. No, KIDD underscore and N and the number 7. Oh my god, I screwed it up.
You did. Tommy.
Tomalinsky.
Sam.
I am Spamcan, SPAM_CAN.
Conrad.
Conrad Zimmerman.
And I'm Andrea_Ritsu. Once again, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed E3, and bye.